It is so good to talk with Leland McSpadden and Ron Shuman here, and try and think of the amount of laps you two guys did against each other. There would have to have been thousands, and yet you very rarely crashed into each other. How does that work?
Well, I think everybody, I don't think there was near the slide jobs. The cars weren't set up to do that kind of stuff like they are now. The tracks were, I would think, better than they are now. I think the drag tires caused the racetracks to shine over and get slick. And I think, people could kind of hold their groove a little better. But I mean, we raced each other as hard as anybody races now. But you had that respect. You made sure you cleared the guy. You didn't take the guy out to take the position.
Do you have a favourite racetrack, Leland, out of all the places you've raced all over the world? Is there one, is it home, or where would it be?
Well, I think Manzanita was one of my favorites just because till they put the new lights on it, we kind of had an advantage because most people didn't like it. It was so dark it scared them, and you run so close to the fence. But Eldora was probably my favorite place to race back when Earl was taking it.
Now, you raced in Australia. Tell me about your times down there, and how did that come about?
Well, the first year I got invited down there, I mean, it's kind of a long story, but the first year I got invited down there, I was supposed to go down and be teammates for Gary Rush, and a friend of Gary Rush that used to come up here and stay half the year or more than half the year, bummed around with a lot of the racers up here, Brian Healy.
Yep. He went on to own Parramatta Raceway.
Put together the deal for me to go down there. Well, when I got there, they were having a boycott of the racetrack, and Gary says, you're going to go to Western Australia and run for, and he told me the guy's name, I can't remember the guy's name, but anyway, Con Migro was the promoter over there.
Yep.
I went to Western Australia, I knew absolutely nobody.
Yep.
I didn't know the car owner, I didn't know the promoter, I didn't know anything. And that was a 2-week experience I'll never forget.
And Claremont Speedway was an incredible place, Leland. It had an atmosphere all of its own.
That was the first place I ever saw people hanging in the trees, looking over the back straightaway, watching a race. I just thought this is something like I've never seen before.
Neil Diamond says in Hot August Nights, God bless you, tree people, I'm singing for you too. And that's kind of, if you remember that, like the people were sitting outside watching it for free. Leland, you look back on your time in racing, do you miss that?
You always miss it. I mean, there was always things you probably would have liked to done. But, no, I had a good long career, didn't get seriously hurt, and enjoyed every bit of it. I liked all the people. I really enjoyed the people, the racing people, the fans, that kind of stuff. I think they really welcome you and make you feel like part of a family.
How's your beautiful wife? Everybody asks me.
She's doing good.
She is by far the better half of this operation.
Yes, she is.
Pretty sure that's true, isn't it, Ron?
Yeah, usually the women are the better halves of all the sprint car races.
How did you meet?
Actually, this is kind of another deal that ties it together. My wife and Billy dated in high school.
Wow.
And she was a year older than you.
Huh?
A year older than you. She's 4 years younger than me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Billy and my wife dated in high school. And then after high school, anyway, that's kind of where I met her.
Seems like Billy Sherman has done a lot for you in your life, Leland.
Well,
he's either cost you a lot of money or he's given you a lot of happiness.
Did you date Lonnie?
No, I didn't date Lonnie.
Okay, I didn't know if that was part of the. I didn't know if that was part of the deal too.
No, almost did, but I didn't. But yeah, there's a lot of time. But when you run around together, you all meet at the local hangout. The guys and the girls. I mean, everybody changes places, and it just seemed like that somewhere through all this, Billy and I was tied together.
So Arizona, in California, Arizona, Midwest, East Coast, was there ever a superpower? Like out of all those areas, was there a stronger part of the country for that? Because everyone's very proud of where they come from, right?
Well, I think it a lot of depended on what kind of racing you did. The wing guys, Pennsylvania, Ohio, the non-wing guys, Arizona, California, But California, you know, back in the day when you run the skinny tire at Ascot, if you could go into Ascot and run anywhere up in the feature, it was tough, really tough. Them guys had that place wired. Once the tires changed, it became a lot easier for the guys coming in like Ronnie and I to run up front over there. But
I talked to Jimmy Oskey about the Agajanian family and how they had a real Hollywood way of doing things, and Ascot was places where you saw Hollywood A-lister movie stars at the event. So was Ascot an incredible place to race?
It was, and you know the funny thing about Ascot is there was a lot of people from the movie industry you would run into, all the hot rod people, all the parts builders for motors, cars, wheels, all kinds of stuff had some tie to Ascot. And when you talk to some of the older people that used to go those races, they all went back clear to Balboa Stadium and the original Gardenia and some of those places like that. So it kind of tied everybody together to 2 or 3 different industries. When you went to Ascot, where most of the racetracks you went to, it was just the local people.
How much do you have to do with racing these days, Leland? How much do you get around to tracks, or do you watch Dirt Vision, or what do you do?
I watch a few races on TV. I go to a few races here in town. Go to a couple out-of-town races during the year, and I kind of help sponsor a race once a year.
Tell me about that.
For the local guys. It's basically just, I put my name on it. One of the guys that was running the association asked me if I would do a race like that. I told him, I said, nobody remembers who I am. And he said, well, anyway, it worked out pretty good. We were able to collect some money for the guys, gave it all back to people. Well, then the last 4 years I've done that race, and we've almost doubled the purse the last year. So it's pretty cool to have the people come up and pay for lap money, pay for different deals. Hard charger.
Yep.
In fact, we did this last year, I put the Hard Charger Award in honor of Billy, who passed away in February?
Yeah.
January, February. Anyway, that was to honor Billy. We did the Hard Charger Award, and it was amazing how much money. We collected like $1,400.
Ron, you got a great smile on your face when you said nobody remembers me. This is one of the absolute greats of our sport.
Everybody that ever went to a race that Leland raced at remembers Leland McSpadden.
Yeah.
He was exciting. He was way more fun to watch than what I was.
One of those ticket price drivers that worth the ticket price.
Oh, absolutely.
Jim McQueen, who was a mechanic back in the USAC days, Ronnie drove for Jim and stuff. We were at a mile race, and he come over and he says, I said, what are you doing here? This was after things had kind of changed in it. And he says, I just came to watch you qualify. He said, it's worth the price of admission.
That is cool.
Here's a story for you real quick. We're running the Hoosier 100. I'm leading it. Leland passes me coming off of turn 2 like it's the 99th lap. He straightaways me in 3 laps. And on a mile, you have time to talk, to think to yourself.
Yeah.
I'm talking to myself and I'm saying, Leland, either you're going to lap the field or you're going to hit the wall. I mean, there's no way you go this fast for 100 laps. And that's the deal where I always went, I ran hard enough to be close enough to win at the end if it was possible, but never ran as hard as you could run. This guy was running wide open, sideways, 100 laps, and I think something did, birdcage or something, I think did break.
Birdcage broke.
In
fact, that was one of the times I bumped Ronnie because he hit me in the back bumper pretty good.
Oh, really?
Coming off of 2 as I went by. Like, where the hell are you going this early in the race?
So kind of like what you did to Steve Kinzer, he did to you.
Yeah.
But I think that's the beautiful part about Leland is whenever you say to someone Leland McSpadden, they say gentleman.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest with you, Leland, everyone says that you're a badass and a gasser, but you're a gentleman. And I think that's the thing that you probably would hang your hat on at the end of the day. It's been great to be a great racer, but to be revered and respected is a great honor.
It is. I really appreciate that. And like I say, when I went through my bout with cancer about 14 years ago, the amount of cards, phone calls, letters, stuff we got, I still have a box full of this stuff. And it was amazing, the outpouring from all over the United States and Australia that I got just from the fans. That
when somebody would crash in a race car, Leland's working on it. Leland's down there helping him get it fixed,
Yeah.
finding parts if he's got to go find parts. But he's involved with everything going on at the racetrack.
I got chewed out one night at El Centro. I'll tell you a little story. We were running a midget race.
Yeah.
And I was running Andy Bondio's car, and Ronnie was running
Skip shot, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we were a quick time, won the heat, this kind of stuff. They run the race. Ronnie come over and talked to me, and he's telling me about his car won't get off the corner. We're doing this and that. And I told him, I said, it's too low gear. I said, you need to put a higher gear in it. He said, well, it won't get off the corner now. I said, yeah, but you're not carrying no momentum. Anyway, he beat me in the main event.
A friend of mine in Western Australia is a chaplain, and he says you reap what you sow in life. And I think
agree with that.
that's why people, Leland, that's why people respect and love you so much. It is such a thrill for me to meet you. In Australia, you are revered and loved and respected, and you're regarded as one of the gods of the sport in this country. You are, mate. It's so lovely to meet you, and thank you so much for your time.
I can tell you, I don't think anybody enjoyed driving a race car as much as I did. And like Ronnie said, I was hell-bent for leather. Gary Stanton used to say, he said, Leland's like a kid in the park with a string and a toy on the end of it, and he just keeps spinning it faster and faster until the string breaks. He says, I'd sit in the infield and hope the string wouldn't break when I was driving his car.